same God that never fails will not fail me now. No, you won't fail me now in the waiting. And the same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. And yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy in all my days. Oh yes, I will. Yeah. I count on one thing: the same God that never fails will not fail me now. No, you won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Come on, sing it. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy in all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will, and I choose to praise, to glorify you, glorify the name of all names. Nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify you, glorify the name of all names. Nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify you, glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against. Yes, I choose to praise, to glorify you, glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy in all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will.
Who am I that the highest would welcome? I was lost, but He brought me. Oh, His love for me. Oh, His love for me. Who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Free at last, He has ransomed. His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, He died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
in that song that we just sang in the reminder that I am who you say that I am. That my identity is who God says that I am, not who culture says that I am, not what political party I'm voting for, but I'm a much loved son or daughter of God. And that's the thing ultimately that allows us to be unified as a group of believers. And I'm so excited that you are here today. If this is your first time here at Mission, I want to point out a couple of things. Like one, download the Mission Church app. That's going to be the best way to stay connected and informed around here. All of the next steps you may want to take or the things you may want to sign up for or past messages are all right there in the app. One of the first buttons you'll see when you download the app is the New Here button. And if you haven't downloaded the app yet, go ahead and click the New Here link that we'll post in the chats or on the tab at the top of the screen. We just want to send you a free gift, a way for us to say thanks for coming and checking out Mission today. So make sure you do that. The other thing that I'd love for you to know is that we would be honored to pray for you. So many of us right now need people that are standing alongside of us, praying with us and for us. And man, we would be honored to pray for you this week. And so you can fill out a prayer request by hitting the tab that's at the top of your screen. We'll post a link in the comments as well. If you have the app, anytime during the week, you can fill out a prayer request and our team gathers every week. We pray for those. Like I said, we'd be honored to be praying for you this week. So you can go ahead and fill that out. You can also give right there in the app. That's another way that you can kind of participate in what's happening around Mission is through your generosity. Every time that you give at Mission, it brings real practical help in our community. In fact, we do a thing called Give One every week where we offer financial assistance to families and individuals in need. In fact, this week, your Give $1 allowed Mission to help a couple of individuals who needed help with their sober living expenses. We're able to come alongside of a family who's experiencing just an incredible hardship because of some medical issues that their kids are going through. And while we can't do everything, we can do something. And the generosity of the people of Mission allows us to do something. And so you can give through the app, you can give online. We've got a text number that you can give to as well. But on behalf of the people in our community that are receiving real practical help every week because of your generosity, I want to say thank you. It really does make a difference when you participate with generosity around here. There's a couple of things coming up that I want to make sure that you're aware of. The first is happening tonight at 7 o'clock. So if you call Mission Church home, if this is your church, if this is where you engage in community, small groups, you serve, you attend here every week in person or online, you're inviting people to Mission. If Mission is your home, then don't miss the family meeting happening tonight at 7 o'clock on the Church Online platform. Now, we've done a couple of these over the last month or two, and really it's just going to be a chance for us to pull the curtain back on some of the things that we're thinking about. So like the last time we had a family meeting, we talked about our desire to figure out parking lot services, and we've been doing that now for a couple of weeks. And so we're going to share a little bit about how that's going, as well as look ahead to some of the things that we see on the horizon for Mission. And so make sure you're online tonight so you can kind of hear all the stuff that's happening, all the stuff that we're thinking, and ways that you can be praying together for us as a church as we head into the month of November. We also have small groups that are going to be starting this week. Man, small groups are so important, especially in this season. A way to stay connected to one another and a way to gather and have conversations that are about something a little different. Instead of getting caught up in all the things that are going on Facebook and everything else, it's a chance to kind of recenter our hearts and mind around God's word. And so we're going to be kicking off a Bible study going through the book of Colossians. Mike Breaux has put it together for us, and he's going to be teaching through this. It's going to be incredible content. And so here's the deal. You can sign up to get in a group, or you can sign up to host a group. We're going to post the link in the chat. You'll be able to do it through the sign up button on the app as well. But if you're not in a group, man, jump into a group. We'll help get you connected in the season. If you've got a bunch of friends that you'd like to go through the study with, you can do that. Or if you want to sign up just to create space for anybody that's not connected to join your group, you can do that right there in the app or in the comments as well. So fill out the form, jump into a group or host a group. It's going to be an amazing journey as we study the book of Colossians together as a church. The other thing coming up is November 15th, we're going to be celebrating baptism together. And I love the fact that the first time we regathered in our parking lot physically was to celebrate baptisms. If you were around then, we celebrated with 27 people that took the step to go public with their faith. And we're going to get to do that again November 15th. Like, this is why we exist as a church. It's to help people find and follow Jesus. And baptism is a reflection of that journey. Baptism's not the time where it's like, I finally got my stuff together and I figured it all out, and now I can let people know that I'm following Jesus. It's actually the first step. It's the moment where I choose to surrender my life to the leadership of Jesus, that I believe that he is the Son of God, that he died on the cross for the forgiveness of my sins, and it's my desire now to live a life surrendered to his leadership, to let him guide me, for me to be obedient to the way that he wants me to live. It's the first step to figuring all of that out. So if you're ready to take that step, sign up to be baptized. We'll post the link in the comments. And again, If you have questions, like fill that form out, we'll connect with you. We'll get you all the information and answer any questions you may have about baptism that's coming up. We're kicking off a new series today called 5 Words That'll Change Your Life. And I have many friends right now that would tell me the 5 words that would change their life would be Dodgers are World Series champions. And time will tell. That may or may not happen. Who knows? But today we're going to be talking about a different word that'll change the lives of all of us. Mike Hickerson is going to be teaching. We're so excited you're here. Welcome to Mission.
Well, what is up, Mission Church? Man, honored that Mission's a part of your weekend experience online. Man, there are so many great people that are engaging online and great people that would be willing to help people take a next step. We exist as a church to help people find and follow Jesus. My name is Mike Hickerson. I'm honored to be the lead pastor of Mission Church. And man, I love our church. I love everything God is doing in and through our church. I love the people that make up the church. The church has never been about a building, but it's always been about the people. And man, the people of our church are amazing. And I'm so honored to be part. Man, if you are just checking in, or if you've been checking in for the first time in a while, or if you're just kind of walking in or somebody invited you, or kind of checking back through, you need to remember about Mission that we believe that there is hope for every single one of us, that there are no perfect people here, there are no perfect people online, there are no perfect people on this stage, but what we are is really rescued and forgiven people, that God is who he says he is, and he sent his son Jesus into the mess of humanity, and that means that there is hope for all of us, not based on how good I am, but based on God's desire to be in relationship with me, that he would send his perfect son as a replacement for my rebellion against him. And no matter where you are or what you've been through or what you're going through, man, God's desire is that you would be back in relationship with him as a much loved son or daughter. And that means there's hope for all of us. And I love where we're at. So in this season, we thought it'd be great. Like, man, we're all looking for things to change. We're all looking for some ways that we can get out of the funk that we're in, or out of the mess that we're in, or when will things be back to normal? And I thought, as we were thinking through when things will be back to normal, let's walk through 5 words that can change your life. Like, I think this will be fun together over the next few weeks. And so that's what we're walking through together. And so what we're going to walk through today is help. Next weekend, we're going to walk through the word sorry. And then we're going to walk through the word no. That can change your life. The word yes can change your life. And the word thanks can change your life. Like, these are 5 words that can absolutely change your life, said in the right context, said in the right way, said with the right conviction, for the right reasons, with the right motive to accomplish everything that God wants to do. These words right here have the power to change your life. And so we thought it'd be helpful for us to go, okay, what does it look like to say, like today, help? Well, most of us, if we're just being honest, don't want to say help. I mean, yes, it sounds like a prayer in desperation or confession in a time of need. It's just that word help that means, like, we don't always like praying it for ourselves, but we know when we can see it in other people. I mean, we want help, but we don't want to pray that prayer all the time, or we don't think that we want to need it. We want to be so self-sufficient that we got it. We don't want to admit that we need it. It turns out there are a bunch of reasons why we don't want help. If you've been thinking about them, maybe even if you're brave enough, like, type out a couple things of, like, you can be funny, like the last time you didn't want help and why somebody was trying to help you, or maybe some serious reasons of why we don't want to say that we need help because we've got all this, or whatever it is. Maybe the last reason, the last event, the last thing. If you're brave enough, you don't need to, like, unveil too much online, but I get that. But sometimes it's like, I don't want to look weak. I don't want to be in debt to somebody. I don't want to, like, owe somebody because they helped me. Sometimes I don't even realize that I need help or what I'm walking through, or I'm afraid that if I ask somebody for help, they're going to take over the situation, that I'm going to lose control of what I'm supposed to be in control of. And what I'm finding, and maybe you've done this on your own, there is one gender specifically that has a hard time with asking for help. It's not the only gender that has a hard time with asking for help, but it is the one that uniquely has a hard time asking for help. In fact, fellas, there's one study that revealed in the age of GPS that the average man will drive 276 miles a year, 1 year, 276 miles lost because we won't ask for directions, for help. Can I get an amen on the chat anywhere? Yay? Nay? All right, let me maybe just tell you the last time that I needed help and didn't ask for it. So, and it wasn't directions. I was had the privilege of being able to fish in Montana and the Bighorn River, and I was up in Montana, and we were fishing over the summer, and it was amazing. It's this ministry up here that invests into leaders. I'm so grateful for the Refuge and all the ways that they've invested into me and our team, and it's just a great place. But so we are fly fishing, and I'm not an expert fly fisherman by any stretch of the imagination. So we have guides that are helping us. They're these young 20-something guys that are trying to figure. They're awesome at outdoor stuff, and they're awesome at fly fishing. They're awesome at teaching, and they're just servants that are serving the leaders. So I'm out there and I'm fly fishing on this thing, and we get out to wade fish. We're not in the boat rowing. We're wade fishing in this one spot, and he's like the guy named Bobby. Is just helping me like, okay, you're going to want to walk down this seam. You're going to walk down this current right here. You're going to keep coming up here. You're going to cast and walk back down here and walk back down here and try to get a fish out of here because there's fish in here. You got to get the fish out of here. So I'm walking. I got waders on. I'm like doing this thing. It's a little cold. I'm letting the thing float. I'm letting it all float. I'm doing it again. I'm letting it all float. And I'm walking it down. It's, walking this whole thing down the thing. And then what happens as I'm walking, I'm about knee deep in the river. It's a great river. It's awesome. It's beautiful. And I'm like fishing and trying to catch this fish. And all of a sudden, like my right foot takes a step. I'm watching the line. I'm watching everything right here. I'm not watching where I'm going. That's a little problem. So I'm like watching all the stuff right here. And then my foot takes like this gravel, like hill in the river and just goes down. And I can't like get enough like traction to get back up, and then my left foot goes down this gravel hill, and I've got this thing in my hand and I'm trying to cast, but I'm sliding down this gravel hill in the middle of not in the middle of a river, but on the edge of the river, and I've got waders on, and the next thing I know, I am gone away from the gravel hill with my waders starting to fill with water, and I'm turning around to Bobby, who was my guide that was right there, and I don't know what to do. And I'm like not yelling help because I'm trying to be cool in that moment, like, oh, this is embarrassing, this is crazy, but I literally don't know what to do. The guy, Bobby, comes in after me. I don't know what he was going to do to help me. He comes in after me like this, and I'm handing him my pole. I'm trying to get him to grab me, but he can't stand either. And so we had to have this other boat comes over. It wasn't life or death. It was a little bit hairy, a little bit. But this other boat comes over. We grab onto the boat, but I'm like feeling like an idiot, but I wasn't scared, but there was no way that I was going to scream for help, but I needed help in the moment, big time, because I could not do anything on my own. Like I couldn't touch. I didn't know exactly what to do. Do I float down the river? Do I try to swim against the current? I should have gone to the shore. I didn't know what to do. Bobby's jumping in after me. We're in it together. What do we do? So I think every now and then it's helpful to turn to each other, and this is a little risk I'm going to take, and look and say, I need help. But then that feels too risky. Like we don't want to say that to each other. We can never say I need help to someone because that means that we're weak and we don't have it together. What's easier, let's take that off the screen because we don't want to say I need help because that's just way too risky. What we like better and maybe what could be easier and what we see in other people, maybe you could turn to the people that you're in the living room with or turn to the people that you're watching this with and you could say, you know what's easier? You need help. Well, of course they need help. It's way easier to see when somebody else needs help than to ask for it ourselves when we need help. But because the thing I think is, now if that caused relational trauma, I'm so sorry, I love you all. But it's way easier to say you need help than it is to say I need help. Because help has got a bad rap. It's not easy to ask for help because we think in our world that we've made it when we say we don't need help, when we're so self-sustaining. Like the secret of life, the success of life is I've got to a point when I don't need anything from anyone. I don't need any help. So we're taught things like to work harder, to do better, to do it again, to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, whatever that means. The goal of our life is to not need anyone. And that's not ever what we've been called to. Like help is this idea to make it easier for someone to do something by offering one services. Usually we don't ask for help or this appeal for urgent assistance. Usually we don't ask for help like me in Montana. We don't ask for help until we're in need of it. And by the time we ask for it, it's already too late. The help we needed was way far earlier than the situation that we're in. So then we think self-help will help us. When self-help, the definition would be the use of one's own efforts and resources to achieve things without relying on others. And what we've talked about right here, self-help is an oxymoron. It's like jumbo shrimp. It does not work. Self cannot help us out of the thing we're in. And it's a $12 billion business right now in our world, self-help. But self cannot help, because if self could help, then self wouldn't have got us in the situation where we needed the help. So self can't help. So we can't self-help our way out of the situations that we get in when we need help, because self can't help, because self got us in the situations. Amen on the chat, maybe? Maybe that's our story. Because what happens is, by the time we get into the situation where we need the help, where we're waving the white flag, where we're saying, okay, I'm going to lay down the pride that I can't figure this out on my own and I need somebody else to bail me out of this situation, sometimes it's become too late. What started out as going over budget ends up in debt and shame, and we can't crawl out of it. What started out as unresolved conflict, before too long, it's too late, and it ends up in a tragic divorce. And it's too late for help. What started out as a problem behavior that I don't get help for becomes an addiction that I can't control, and it's too late for help. It's never too late for help, but we think that all this thing has gotten too far. A problem with flirtation or temptation turns into an affair. A problem with procrastination turns into unemployment. The truth is that it takes way more courage to raise our hand, to raise the white flag, to say, I need help, because I can't figure this out on my own, then pretend and hide and feel like we got to fake it till we make it and that we don't need anything till we get there. In fact, the Bible would say, and my help or my helper is actually one of the most common names for God in the Bible. For instance, Hebrews 13:6 would say this, so we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid, because what can mere mortals do to me? God is here to help us come back to him. He made every way possible to help us come back to him, but us on this side right here, we have a hard time saying, God, I need help. We for sure can't say it to other people easily. And if we can't say it to other people easily, it's really difficult for us to say it to God. And God is saying, I am your helper. I am the one. You can have confidence in me, that I am for you, that I'm not bailed on you. In fact, the goal of life with God is this idea of that we are made to live in continual dependence. Like, it's not like we come to God and get saved and like, thanks God for the rescue and I'm all good now. Continual, daily dependence on God in the context of our surrender, of our giving up, of our need for help, of our releasing control, of our surrender and interactive friendship with God. Like, that's the whole reason that we exist. We are made to live in continual dependence on God and in the context of surrender and interactive friendship with him. And that is amazing. The alternative to this would be, no thanks God, I'd rather live in prideful self-sufficiency and I've got it from here. Thank you for the rescue. I'll take control back of my life. I'm the one who wrecked my life. I'm the one who made the decisions to get me where I needed rescue. Thank you for the rescue. I'll just drive my life back into the ditch from here. And so, man, I just want to walk through a quick story, one of my favorite stories, one of the most fun stories and interactions in the Bible, where somebody came to Jesus and said, I need help. And she didn't frame it quite like that, but it's one of the reasons that we're going to walk through it today and go like, man, Jesus is prepared and ready to show up when we ask if we need help. It's in John 2. It's actually one of the most famous miracles that Jesus ever performed. It's actually his first miracle that he ever performed publicly. It's in John 2. It'll be on the screen. If you have the app, you can follow along. And it starts like this. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. So I don't know if you've ever been to a wedding or behind the scenes of a wedding, but every wedding that I've ever seen or done, I love weddings. They're so much fun. I love everything about weddings. I love doing premarital with people. It's so much fun. But every wedding that I've ever been to and ever done a rehearsal for, something goes wrong. In fact, I would tell every one of you that are getting ready to get married, I love you and I know you want the picture perfect wedding. Something will probably go wrong. At the wedding ceremony, it'll be okay. Like, the worst case scenario of a wedding is that you walk out married to each other and you're going to be just fine. The ceremony doesn't need to be perfect for your marriage to be great. Every wedding I've ever seen, something goes wrong. Somebody forgets a line. The flowers are the wrong color. Somebody can't stop crying. The photographer doesn't show up. Like, there's just things that happen in a wedding and it's all going to be okay. On the third day, a wedding takes place at Cana in Galilee and Jesus' mother was there. and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. Can I just stop right here? Like, I love it. Like, live in such a way, Jesus and his buddies and Jesus and his followers were living in such a way that they got invited to tons of weddings because they were living their life. That has nothing to do with the message, but live that way. I love that about that. Now, the wedding that Jesus is at, there's a problem that's going to happen. We're going to see it in the next couple of verses. The problem is that they run out of wine. And in the ancient world, this is a huge deal, significant deal, because hospitality was like this sacred thing. It kind of was like you're standing, like how many people can you host at the wedding? Are you able to serve? Are you able to do the things that everybody would want to come at your kid's wedding? They would run out of wine. If they run out of wine, it would mean shame and disgrace upon the family. It would be forever etched in the society. It was like hospitality is a huge, I can't overstate how huge hospitality was in this culture. And for them to run out of wine is a massive deal. And so it becomes a setting for really what is kind of the first prayer ever prayed to Jesus. It's not called a prayer, but that's kind of what it is. And so we'll walk through it. So when the wine, this is the next verse. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, and this is like what Max Lucado is like an author in Christendom, like people that are Christians in America. They would say, like, this is the first prayer ever prayed to Jesus that's recorded. They have no more wine. Like, I love that Jesus and his mom, and so as you get through even this story, there's probably way more playful dialogue than I can even get into at this. But they ran out of wine. Hey, Jesus, we're at a wedding. They ran out of wine. This is a massive deal to this family. This is a massive deal in this culture. You can do something about this. I know who you are. You're the Son of God. Like, come on, we need to do something about this. And I just want to know, like, I don't know what you've ran out of today. This is a little bit of a turn. I don't know what's going on in our story today. I don't know where we need help today. Out of courage, if you run out of patience, if you're running out of strength or hope or support, I would ask, who are you talking to about it? Because that matters. And maybe would you have the courage to raise your hand or raise the white flag and go, Jesus, I need help. For whatever reason, Mary comes to Jesus and she says these 4 words, the first prayer, like, they have no more wine. Like, it's so interesting. Like, and if you're not a good prayer, I understand that. But prayer is like, I think sometimes we get it convoluted that you have to have a voice and you have to have certain words and you have to, maybe you feel sheepish about praying in front of other people and you feel like you should be able to pray, the Lord is my shepherd, or you feel like you should be able to pray, our Father who art in heaven, and people know these prayers and you don't know these prayers. The first recorded prayer we're going to say with Max Lucado is, they have no more wine. So if you can pray that, then you're good. Nobody's putting that on a plaque unless it's in Napa. I understand that. But what I'm going to say, what matters when we're praying, what matters when we have needs, what matters when we need help is not the words that we're using, it's the who that we're talking to, the whom you say it to. And by the way, this story hinges on the fact that Mary was able to go to Jesus and say, we need help. Jesus didn't come to this wedding to do a miracle. He wasn't planning on doing a miracle. He wasn't even doing the ceremony. He wasn't even giving a prayer at the ceremony. He wasn't giving the homily. He was just hanging out. Jesus did what he did because Mary asked for help. She asked, and her request, her prayer changed things. So when we say, God, I need help, Jesus is on record that when we say, I need help, it changes things for us. And I love that. This is the first recorded words in this story from Jesus. So it's this, woman, why do you involve me? And so, fellas, this would not be the one verse I would want you to remember or memorize from the Bible. This is terrible marital advice. This is terrible relational advice. You don't quote it tonight when your wife is like, hey, would you help me with the dishes? And you're like, well, Jesus said, and I'm just going to quote it to you, babe, woman, why do you involve me? That's not where we're going with this. But what you need to know, and I can't get into all of it, this is super playful and super fun with a mom that loves her son and a son that loves her mom. They're having some fun right here. And he's also saying, like, it's not time for me to go forward yet. And she's going, hey, they ran out of wine, and I know that you can help. Woman, why do you involve me? Jesus replied, my time has not yet come. I love that. And you need to know, like, sometimes when we go to Jesus and we ask for help, there's times that we get this response, like, the time has not yet come to answer that. And that is super difficult. Like when we're going like, Jesus, my job. And he's like, the time has not yet come. Or we're like, Jesus, it's cancer. And he's like, the time has not yet come. Or she's not coming back. The time has not yet come. The girl has lost her health. The time has not yet come. I feel so desperately alone. No. The time is, I am who I say I am. And I will do everything that I promise to do. It's just not my time yet. But you can ask. And I'm there when you need help. And I don't know where you've been with that. But God has not bailed on you. And it's so interesting. Because she says, hey, they've run out of wine and we need some help. And he doesn't answer any of her questions. And then this is the very next thing. This is the very next verse. I love this. And she goes, that's great, Jesus. She's like, woman, what are you doing with me? My time has not yet come. And she's like, she looks at the servants and she's like, that's great. Just like any mother would do, very passive aggressively. So you think you got mother problems or mother-in-law problems. Jesus had them as well. Because she makes a request. He doesn't answer it. And she goes, that's fine. You're going to do it anyway. Right? And she goes to the servants. Yeah, that's great, Jesus. Just do whatever he says to do. Like you didn't answer whether you do it or not. They ran out of wine. This is going to be public shame. I'm asking for help. I haven't asked for help yet. This is what I need help with. And he's like, no, it's not my time. It's not my time. It's not my time. And she just is like, that's fine. Servants, whatever he says to do, do it. I love that. And if you are going, okay, God, I need help. You need to listen to Mary in this moment. You raise your hand for help. And no matter the answer you get from Jesus, you listen to her say, do whatever he tells you. Next verse goes by, and so Jesus doesn't even respond. He's like, Mom, oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing. So they would have these big buckets, and that was like, they didn't have like a faucet that you would turn on, so they'd have to go collect water. So these 6 stone jars that would hold 20 to 30 gallons, so there's about 120, 150 gallons there. And so this is what he says. Jesus said to the servants, fill the jars with water, and so they filled them to the brim. I love how the servants respond. I love it. They have no clue who Jesus is. Jesus has never done a miracle. Jesus has never preached a sermon. Jesus is not famous at this point. This is just somebody who Mary says, do whatever he tells you. And they're like, well, I'll be a full-hearted servant, and whatever Jesus tells me, I will do, and I will fill it to the brim. Have you ever carried 150 gallons of water? Like, that's not fun. So you're probably like putting a little bit less in there because you're carrying this thing. You're going to go dump out the water that was there, fill it up, and try to bring it back because this lady said that this guy, do whatever he says. We're supposed to fill all these jars with water. I don't know what that has to do with wine. They didn't understand at all what was going on. They were just serving Jesus because he asked them to do it, and they didn't know how it would end up. They could have filled the jars with 2/3. They could have filled all that stuff. But they didn't know what. They obeyed him with their whole hearts. They did what was asked of them, and they went beyond, and they filled it up to the very top. Whatever he tells you to do, you do. It takes me back to last week. If you haven't watched the message from last week when Jody said, like, there's this bucket. Sometimes that we bring like a little cup to God and say, I need you to do immeasurably more. And can you just fill this cup today? And then there's times where we need a whole bucket of grace, and we're bringing that to God and saying, I need this whole bucket of grace to be my provision today. They're going like, you know what? I'll fill the jar. I'll do what you asked to the full that you've asked me to do it. They didn't just go through the motions. They filled it to the brim. And so what I would say to you today, if you're somebody's going like, God, I need help, I would just say, take your bucket of your life and fill it to the brim. Encourage somebody fully. Fill an hour of your week with your whole heart. Serve somebody in your home with great delight and not begrudging like grit. Give a gift to God that actually represents sacrifice on your part. Like, I'm going to do this because you've asked me to do it. Tell the whole truth courageously when you're tempted to lie. Ask God, God, help me, help me, help me. And he's like, fill it to the brim. Fill everything to the brim. That's the way the kingdom works. Because what we're going to see in a second is that the people at the wedding never understood the miracle or what happened. It was only the people that did what he asked to do that understood that Jesus turned water into wine. They were part of the miracle to see what God would actually do through Jesus. The wedding got saved. The big shots didn't know how it happened. The master of the banquet didn't know how it happened. The groom didn't know how it happened. The servants who did what Jesus asked them to do are the only ones who saw how God provided in the moment at this wedding. Who he asked for help. Verse 8, and I love this. We'll kind of fly through the rest of this. Then he told them, now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet. They did so, and so they took this water out, and it turned into wine. It's like this H2O, it turned into Merlot, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine, and he did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn it, they knew where it had come from. Verse 10, then he called the bridegroom inside. Everyone brings out the choice wine first and the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. Maybe you know a little bit about that. We'll talk about that later. But you have saved the best until now. And so what I love is Jesus didn't get like the $2 chuck wine. It was the best of the best. When he turns water into wine, he was like, I'm going to bring the best to the table. You're going to trust me with this. You're going to ask for help, and I'm going to bring the best to the table. Man, there's so much in this miracle. But it all starts, and I just want to anchor in on one word. It all starts with the word help. God, help me. Jesus, help me. They have no more wine. I don't know what to do. I'm at the end of my rope. I feel like there's going to be shame here. I don't know how to handle it. I'm in the water, and I'm sinking. I don't know what to do. I'm in debt, and I'm drowning, and I don't know what to do. Relationally, we're flailing, and I don't know what to do. Help, 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 help is what's going on. And so I just want to wrap up with these really quick things. First and foremost, do you believe that Jesus can help? Not that he was just like some fable and story that we cling to and we tell Sunday school stories about and as a good moral crutch when we're kids so that we don't mess up and we have a life. No, do you really believe that God is who he says he is and he sent Jesus into humanity? Not that he existed, just that he existed as a human, but he was God with skin on, and he can help. Do you believe that? Second would be, are we humble enough to ask Jesus for help? There's a difference when we go well, I think he can. I don't know if he wants to. He's probably annoyed with me by now. I've asked for help so much. I got this on my own, Jesus. You rescued me. I'm good. Are we humble enough to say, man, I can't handle this problem anymore. I need to let somebody know. I can't wrestle this thing to the ground. It's beyond me. This thing, this sin stuff, this rebellion inside of my heart is beyond me. That I can't wrestle to the ground on my own. Jesus, I not only believe that you can help, God, I am humble enough to say I cannot do this on my own and I need your help. And then third, can I do what he tells me to do? So I'm just the challenge that I would have for us no matter what circumstances we're needing help in. And I know there's a huge array that are watching online, that are gathering together, that are part of this body called Mission Church. Would we be smart enough to know that Jesus can? Would we be brave enough to ask if he would? And would we be humble enough to do what he asks us to do? You want your life to change? It starts with one word. Help. My life is help. It's unmanageable. I can't wrestle it. Jesus, will you help me? Why don't you pray with me? God, you are good, and you are great, and you are a God who rescues and saves, and you are our helper. You are not our crutch. You are our helper out of the mess to establish our feet on firm ground. God, may we take a risk. May we be brave. May we be humble. May we be smart enough to say, God, we need help. It's in Jesus' name I pray.
I've carried a burden for too long on my own. But I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go, and I see it now. I'm laying it down. I know that I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. You saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your Son for redemption, the price for my heart. I don't have the context for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Has been in your sights long before my first breath. Running into your arms is running to life from death. And I feel this rush deep in my chest. Your mercy is calling. Just as I am, you pull me in, and I know I need you now. I run to the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again.
I loved this message and the words in the song that we just sang, that we can run to a Father because he is so full of grace. And Mike's challenge to us, man, it's so clear and so simple, yet sometimes so incredibly difficult, that all we need to do is believe that Jesus can help, be humble enough to ask, and then do what he says. And that all starts with surrender. And so I just want to encourage you, man, if you're ready to take that step and surrender your life to Jesus, whether that's for the first time or you're doing it again and you haven't been baptized, then that's a step that you could take right here at Mission on November 15th. And so we'll post the link for baptism that's coming up. It's going to be an incredible experience. You don't want to miss it. And again, if we can be praying for you at all this week, hit the prayer button. We'd be honored to pray for you. You can follow social media for all the stuff that's happening throughout the week. But thanks for being here today, and we'll see you next week as we continue in this series.